Okay, so the Hawaiian volcano summary this week. Kīlauea's eruption is short and sweet, and it looks like it's in a phase of recharge right now. You guys can see in the top plot right there is the tilt for the last month on Kīlauea, which since eruption ended on the 19th, that little the bottom of the V right there, it's been on a fairly steady inflationary pattern there. A couple little variations down and up, possibly deflation inflation cycles superposed on there, but really it's been a pretty dramatic rise. It looks like it's an order of 15 microradians or so from that graph over the last not quite a month, maybe 3 weeks or so. So that's on par with what we're seeing before the eruption that began in June 2023 here. So it's kind of back to its old ways, inflating at the summit, rising, tilting outwards. But what you see in the bottom is one of the curiosities. What's a little different this time than the last time is some things are not quite the same. For one, there's not nearly as many earthquakes. So we're not really showing the earthquake plot, but it's not really above moderate background levels there. And one curiosity I thought I'd highlight this week was the lava depth for the last month. What you maybe can tell, it's hard to highlight it without the marker here, but right at the bottom of that V, that corresponds to the end of the eruption there at the top. And that plot on the bottom, after that occurs on the 19th, has two different phases of the line actually rising upwards. So I'm talking about on the bottom, the lava depth plot, there's a lot of smaller little up and down variations. We'll kind of ignore those for now. That's something interesting that maybe we can get into in future weeks. But really, it's the rise that you see about 2 meters there that occurs between the 19th and the 22nd or so. And if you look at between the 25th and 28th, there's a second slower rise that occurs about 1.5 meters that occurs there further to the right. So those two things are interesting because that would imply that at least at that one spot the laser is measuring on the caldera floor, which is that western basin area of the lava lake, that there have been two pulses of the ground lifting up after lava stopped coming out of the ground. So one explanation would be that the lava was still injecting beneath the crust and lifting it up. And if that was the case, we would expect to see similar data of other points in the crater floor. Unfortunately, we only have that one to work with online, but hopefully we'll get some insight from USGS on that, whether other parts of the crater floor have also been rising, or the other explanation might be that that whole thing's actually been tilting back and forth. Because as we know, the eruption was focused in the southwest part of the caldera, and likely when that happens, you have extra gas and extra froth in that area. It's probably uplifted more so than in the far end of the crater. And did it possibly wiggle its way back and in that manner cause the ground to actually locally rise in one spot? So it's hard to tell without more information there, but one of those curiosities. Another curiosity is the amount of gas that was uh, measured at the onset of the last eruption in June 2023. It was measured quite high at over 75,000 tons in that first day. And along with that, we've seen a revision of the volumes from the USGS on the maps that show that maybe up to 60% of that initial surge of volume might have been all gas. So tune in to our full update for more details on that. But that's the long and short of it. Kīlauea is still inflating. It's not showing quite the same pattern as it did prior to June 2023's eruption onset, but there are some signs of pretty steady inflation and uplift in the area that potentially could lead to some resumption in short order. It's hard to tell exactly. The last eruptions have actually come up pretty quickly without a whole lot of warning, and that's still a possibility looking forward as well. And that's the summary for this week.